Good morning, guys. I just want to do a sound check here just to see if everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me? If I can
Coming
get
through loud and
you
clear
guys
on my
to
end.
say yes or no
Yeah,
in
I
the
can too.
chat. If you have the ability of hearing me, let me know.
I can hear you.
I can hear you fine.
I hear you.
All right. Well, I think we're going to get started again. If you have the ability to, just so that we can see the names that are in there. If you can change your name, just go to rename and put your first name at your company, and then we'll be able to, if we have to respond, then myself or Darren will be able to respond appropriately there. And yeah, stay muted unless you want to get involved in this. And thanks for coming. We'll get started. So yeah, the restaurant maintenance cornerstones is something that we've been gathering all kinds of information the past 6 years since we've had more and more customers on board. We put this together from about 2,000 restaurants. We're over 2,000 restaurants, and different things that each one of you guys is doing well. And we thought we'd share it with the group so that we can all do things a little bit better. I don't know whether you guys feel this way, but this has been 2020 for most people, I think. And we're not going to dwell on this too much, but I think just the thing is we're still upright for the most part. There's been a lot coming at us, and sometimes it's nice to take a little bit of a reset and to kind of put ourselves in the mode of where do we go from here, and that's kind of what we wanted to present today with respect to these cornerstones. And the cornerstones are just a basic foundation for building things on. You can see the definition there, but it's the foundation for building it. And what we want to look at is foundation for building up your maintenance in 2020. And so that's what, or sorry, in 2021. We want to get rid of 2020. I think everybody does. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go through those cornerstones at a very high level, not necessarily talking about OwlOps in particular. And then we'll delve into a little bit of how we can implement some of these things in OwlOps as we go forward. So here they are. These are the basic 4 cornerstones of restaurant maintenance that we believe. It's A, knowing your equipment. Partnering up, and that could be with your internal maintenance team or an external maintenance team, and we'll talk about that. It's workflow and communication, so knowing who and how to contact different people, and it's planning ahead. And we're going to talk about each one of these individually as we go. So first thing is knowing and understanding your equipment. And this is probably the biggest one with the biggest meat on the bones. And we've seen a lot of customers who get involved in this and they do this and they get huge value out of doing this in their business. So the first step with this is actually having an inventory of all of your equipment. In larger groups, we always have the accountant or our financial people that keep coming back and saying, well, where's our fixed asset list? Where's our list of things? Or our exterior accountant that's asking, you know, what's our value of equipment? Having that list readily available is hugely important, and we can do that within OwlOps, but also you can have that whether you're using a Google sheet or an Excel sheet or something. Having that is very important. Can I see in the chat box from a warranty perspective, if you in the last year have spent money on a piece of equipment that was under warranty that you probably found out later that it was under warranty. So you spent money in the chat. If just give me a yes, we've done that, or in the last year or two, if you've ever done that. I know that a lot of the customers that I've dealt with say that as soon as they implement a system where they can know where they know when their warranties are up, that they immediately save that money. So knowing when that warranty is, having that information readily available, so that you know that you don't call that, the third-party vendor. You don't work on it yourself. You get that the manufacturer in there to take care of it. The third part of the assets is manuals and documentation. Know where to get that most updated information. Know the websites to go to. Know where your documentation is, so that you're not going into binders up on the shelf or down in the basement, wherever it is. Have that stuff readily available. And then a history on that piece of equipment. Knowing the history on a certain piece of equipment is ultimately important, because then you're truly going to know the repair versus replace and be able to have that guidance for at the end of the year when you're looking at, what pieces of equipment are failing. You can see that, but then also as an ongoing basis, if you've repaired something, then being able to see that a couple months ago that we had the same issue, and maybe calling the vendor to task and saying, hey, you didn't replace it or you didn't repair it. So having that history really will help answer some of those questions. And we've seen, and this is why this is the number one cornerstone, is that the customers and the people that are doing this, they're seeing less outages. They're seeing less loss in sales, because they're able to react appropriately in there. The second cornerstone is vendoring, or partnering up with third parties. And I know everybody here probably has some third parties and vendors that they do business with, but the key to this is really setting the stage for success for both of you. And that's usually from, or it seems to be based on actually having the information clarified, and having an agreement set so that you know what their services are, what their hours are, and what their rates are, and so that there's no ambiguity between those things, and how to communicate with them. Some vendors like to get that phone call, some like to get a text message, some like to get email, and you need to clarify the who and the how. Who do I contact? When do I contact them? How do I contact them? Also, with certain pieces of equipment, you need certification to work on that. So getting this in place up front, and even if you have a relationship with a vendor up till now, putting this down on paper so that they understand and you understand what your relationship is. We've seen really good, successful interactions with vendors, but we've also seen some challenged ones, and we've been able to get involved and help smooth those things out. Also important is the not to exceed. We've definitely seen certain times when a vendor has come in and they've gone over and above providing the service, but then they have exceeded the cost of what the restaurant has wanted to do. The big key to this is communication. If you're communicating well with your third party and you have an ongoing communication, you're going to be successful, they're going to be successful, and you guys will be able to help each other out. The third part of this is workflow and communication. And again, we're going to go through these cornerstones, and then at the end, we're going to show some steps that we can do so that we're able to improve on these, and so in certain cases incrementally from where you guys are at, which is amazing. And we'll cover that right after we review it. Excuse me. So this is all about the who, what, when, and how for each type of equipment. So for plumbing, who do I call? What if it's an after hours emergency call? What if it's how do I contact that person? Same with an internal person, external. We need to make sure that this is well defined and communicated to your team. Now, obviously, you guys being OwlOps users, this becomes very, very easy, and we need to keep it updated all the time. But what we're going to share is a sheet that will allow you guys to go through that. And I'm just gonna, I think there's a little bit of feedback coming back from somebody. we're gonna go through a worksheet that you guys can do and an exercise that you guys can do to make sure that this is set up properly in the OwlOps system. So the who is knowing who they need to contact, but not just who. How do they contact them? And you can see that on the diagonal there. So if you're telling them contact Peter, and Peter's probably chuckling right now because he's online here. How do they contact them? Do they contact them by text? Do they contact them by email? And then a little bit of training on what. So they need to understand what an emergency issue is. In my definition, an emergency is anything that's affecting sales and or safety. But your organization might be a little bit different. So clearly defining that for your team so that they understand the what they need to do, and also train them on how to report things as well. So when they're saying that the toaster isn't working, what about the toaster isn't working? Taking pictures, really training them to communicate what the issue is, which will definitely, and I know that there's a bunch of maintenance guys, maintenance teams on here. They definitely appreciate it when they're getting that information. And then the when, it's define regular versus after hour. What do we do on the weekend? Who do you contact? And go through that. A lot of these things seem like common sense, but unless we communicate them and unless we write them down, we're probably not informing our team as well as we should about the process. And again, OwlOps helps out with this, which is amazing, but really also defining this and making sure everyone's on board and making sure OwlOps is doing what you guys expect it to do. The fourth one, and one that's potentially the most important, is planning ahead and scheduling. I know that a lot of people, this is the one thing that I remember back in the day of the just set it and forget it. Well, we don't want to forget it, but we do want to set it and have these things running. I don't know, this is a poor attempt at my humor from Ron, but it is a matter of just spend a little bit of time planning so that this just starts going, and the customers that we have and the people that we've dealt with and restaurateurs that are doing this reap huge benefits from having preventive maintenance. So it adds, it reduces the equipment downtime and lost sales, and definitely less customer complaints. We had one that we've done a white paper on where they saw over a period of time that their hot chocolate sales had reduced and their hot chocolate machines had numerous issues. Customer complaints were up. They decided to invest in all new hot chocolate machines across their 5 restaurants. And the next year, their sales increased by 30% on that line item. Now that doesn't take into account the reduction in the customer complaints, and probably your ticket sales are going up. Average ticket is going up because of that. But just understanding that, but having the preventive maintenance in place to make sure that those things are happening. Just anything like that will help improve the efficiency and also safety of those pieces of equipment. So of those 4 cornerstones, and I know I went through them very quickly, and I mean, this isn't rocket science. These are probably very obvious to you guys of what we're doing. But of those 4 things, I'd like to see in the chat here, these 4 things, which one here do you think that you guys need to improve on? If you can put that in the chat, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll just go 1, 2, 3, or 4. If you guys would kind of want to get this to be an interactive thing. So are any of these really where you guys think that you should or could improve next year? All right, we see workflow and communication. We see partnering up, so that's great. Knowing your equipment and planning ahead, great. Planning ahead, so preventive maintenance, great. Yep. Excellent. Workflow and communication, good. Excellent. Awesome. Workflow and plan ahead, great. Awesome. So that's great. So what we've done is we've actually developed these 4 sheets, I guess there are 4 steps to help us accomplish each one. The great thing about this, and we'll see it in a second, is that none of these actually rely on the other. So we can do, preventive maintenance, planning and scheduling without having to get vendors involved, without having to itemize your equipment and stuff. We're going to see that, but we can pick out one thing to improve through next year, and we're going to take your restaurant or your maintenance team and your overall performance of your restaurants. We're going to take that up a notch. So step 1 is knowing your equipment. Not step 1, but a step that you can do. So know your equipment. We have QR labels always in front of me, that we can now identify pieces of equipment in your location. You go through, you spend about an hour, you go through each location, you identify that, and then you enter that into OwlOps, and we can help you with that as well. And then after that, you can now accomplish those 4 things that we were talking about previously with the knowing your equipment, where we're now going to have that history. We're now going to have operations manuals. All of that, a lot of that's preloaded into OwlOps, the manuals and those things, and we can start to grow that. So that's step 1. It's a fairly easy process. It does take about an hour to an hour and a half per location, but that is one of the things that might be important for you guys. And again, we're going to send out these sheets so that you guys can pick and choose which things you want to do. And we are always available to help you guys navigate any of these things. Number 2 is the partner up. So engage in great partnerships. And this is actually something that we put together because, again, I think a great partnership starts with great communication. And so identifying sitting down with each of your vendors or partners, kind of putting this together, make sure there's no ambiguity. There's no crosstalk when you guys are talking about, and you can see here, who do I contact for invoices? Who do I contact for dispatch, before hours, after hours? What's the fee schedule? What are we agreeing to for response time? What about approvals? If it exceeds $1,000 or exceeds $500, call the store owner, call the maintenance manager, whoever that's responsible. And then this is now an ongoing document, and you can actually store this in OwlOps on that vendor. But this can be a document that you guys just keep online, even in a shared folder, which again, in the documents section of OwlOps, you can store it. So it's something that you guys can make as a living document. And then as things change, if their dispatch emails change or anything, but it's something that will guide that conversation with a vendor. And so this is just a starting point of what we put together. If you guys take a look through it, if you see some holes in it, we'd love to fill in those gaps and make an improvement on that. But if you're partnering up, if you're doing it, I would encourage, just at least as a guide for those conversations, start with this, and hopefully it'll help out incrementally with your vendor discussions. Workflow and communication. So again, this is an area where I'm going to skip to the next slide because it's a little bit larger. So it's, again, just defining what that workflow should be. So if it's a plumbing issue, who should it go to? If it's non-urgent or urgent, and again, urgent is safety or sales issue. If it's electrical, who does that go to? Those things that, again, sitting down with either your maintenance team, with even at the restaurant level in large organizations where you guys have certain geographical areas, this might change. So sitting down and defining this, and then what we can do is we can take that back and make sure that the setup in OwlOps reflects what this is. And last but not least is planning ahead. So we want to implement preventive maintenance and scheduled tasks. And what we did was we came up with a calendar, a maintenance calendar. And this is also available. Many of these are currently available in OwlOps in under the resources and the schedule templates. If you go to resources, click on resources, schedule templates. And you can just one click add those and they will automatically pop up as scheduled tasks for your team. But all of these in here, let's see. Yeah. So for monthly, there's an emergency lighting inspection, fire extinguisher inspections. You can go through this paper list and pick out the 2 or 3 things as we start going that will help out with the with your planning for next year. And again, we start off slow, and I think you'll be successful if you start picking off 1 or 2 of these as we go. And that's the best part of this. Again, slow and steady wins the race. Any 4 of these, any little increment to any one of these will help you and your maintenance and your operations overall. So if you're able to take a piece out of each one and slowly increment them, and it doesn't have to be all we have to do all these 4 tasks or 4 steps in January or in December. It can be, hey, let's implement 3 preventive maintenance tasks in January, and they might be quarterly tasks. So we're going to see those start to go, but we start to build that infrastructure for our maintenance that now is a good platform based on a good foundation, the cornerstones that will help us move that forward. Does anybody have any questions? Either unmute yourself or just throw it in the chat there. We would love to entertain any questions at this point. And I can even, if there's questions related directly to OwlOps, I have no problem pulling up OwlOps on here and
yeah, Doug.
Justin, all right.
Yeah, do you have a Burger King specific checklist? Because I was looking at the checklist and there's a whole bunch of items on there, but it doesn't look like there's many Burger King ones. So
yeah, so we
specific for.
Yeah, we do have whether you're Tim Hortons or Burger King, we do have certain things. We have to make sure that we're sharing appropriately, so, which means we'll go out and we will ask. But Justin, we definitely have some things that we would be able to share with you. I'll connect with you, Justin, after. There's a bunch of shared things that are BK. So does anybody else have any questions about anything that I've covered? Or I mean, I can really open this up to any other questions, or if you would like to see this happening on a more regular basis, let's say monthly. Is there a certain topic that you'd like us to cover, whether it's more how-to or whether it's something about just restaurant operations? Is there anything that you would like for us to jump into? All right. Well, the one thing that I do have, I would love to ask.
Do have a.
Oh, 1 second.
Sorry, Doug.
Yeah, go ahead.
We have a question that just came up into the chat. Just Todd wanting to know, is there ability to scan a copy of invoice or work order from third-party supplier into a specific task rather than having to type into the task that was done by the service provider?
let's see. So is there the ability of adding that invoice into the task? So
Yeah,
they're
they want to
absolutely, yeah. Yeah,
yep,
they're
scan the
absolutely,
work order for third party. Yep.
yeah, so you can actually take a picture of that invoice and add it to the task. And let's just, while we're here. Yeah, well, the simple answer is yes. So when you're closing out the task, you can click on the picture, take a picture of that invoice. You can actually even put in the dollar amount and the time spent as you're doing that. And you can do that right there within there. Is there a template for stock parts inventory as well as equipment inventory? Yes, there is. We will, Peter, I'll send that out to you. So the question is related to our, let me jump to. One second. I'm going to jump to a sample here. The question is related to our parts and inventory part, where you can track small wares and parts and those inventory. And probably the question is related to being able to mass import into here. Basically, if you have an Excel sheet that has this information, you send it to us and we'll import it in for you. But I do have a template that I can send to you, Peter. And then with respect to that other question, Todd, let's say that we're in here, we wanted to close this task out and we're going to hit close. You can either attach a PDF here. So if I had a PDF or a picture that I wanted to attach, I can do that. I can put in, it was based on invoice number 123456 and $175. And what that's going to do is going to put that dollar figure, add it up with the other dollar figures that are in that task. It will roll that up to the task, and it will also roll it up to that piece of equipment so that we'll know how much we're spending on that specific piece of equipment. All right, and Pedro, I see that as well. We'll get you that template as well.
Do you have something kind of like a checklist? So when people are putting information in, do you have like a checklist that they should go through and say, okay, this is the toaster on the drive-through side. I need to have a picture of it and, you know, scan the QR code. Just because what I find is I have a lot of people who don't know the information they need to put into the order. So they'll just put in like, this is broken. They don't say this, which specifically it is. They're not taking a picture of the QR code. They're, you know, is there a little check sheet for that?
Yeah, so I mean, the QR codes are meant to, I don't have any set up here. Let me go to a different location. So the task entry is, let me go to here. So for task entry, you can actually type in the last couple digits of the QR code in here. So if it was, let me see, there's one. QR code 111. So if I just type in the last couple digits, I can select it here. And then from here, you see the history, you would see any documentation that they have. All they need to do is just click fix. All that is covered in the YouTube videos on how to create a task, or in the knowledge base here. So it's a matter of just sharing that with them and making sure, maybe as a team, go through to make sure that they know how to create a task.
Okay.
All right. So any other questions while I have a system up here? If there's any other questions, we can definitely do that. the one thing that I'd like to do, and I'd like to ask is that so Darren's here with us. Darren is helping with outreach and sales, and he's a former Tim Hortons operator, and also actually in many different restaurants in the hospitality areas, and he's looking to do some outreach. And what I'd like to do for each one of you guys is maybe there's a name or another operator that you think could help improve their operations with these these 4 steps, and or with just OwlOps in general. And if you do have someone, I'd love for you to send that email or that contact to myself and Darren, and we'll reach out. And actually, we're going to send you an email that you can actually send along to those people. So you're not giving away an email and we're doing the old sales push there. But we'd like for you to refer someone to us, if that's possible, to help with help growing the user base, so that we can all again learn more from each other. And so that's something that's going to come out. We're going to send out a copy of this video for anybody on your team that may have missed it. We're going to send out those resources, those worksheets, and then yeah, we're also going to ask if you have someone that you think could help with better maintenance and better tracking. We would love to be introduced there, and we would definitely appreciate that. Does anybody have any questions before we sign off? I know your guys' time is important. Thank you to the guys on the West Coast, Justin, and I think there's someone else out there way west that got up nice and early to meet with us. And thank you to everyone else, because I know this year's been a wonky one. And but if you have any other ideas of things that we can do as well to bring more value to you, or have any questions of how we can help you take a step towards some of these things, shoot an email right to me, or to support@OwlOps. And we just really want to help you guys take those incremental steps to help improve in your maintenance. Darren, you have any other final statements before we sign off here?
No, just to echo some of what you said, Doug, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us this morning. We really appreciate it. We do understand your time is valuable. Again, if there is anything, please feel free to reach out. We'd be more than happy to help you out. Like Doug said, I've been in the service industry for over 30 years. I did spend a bulk of that with Tim Hortons for 18 years, but have experience in other restaurants and hotels. So, we really are here to help you find those efficiencies, save yourself some time, and focus on what's important to your guests. So reach out to us, let us know, and any ideas. We're always wanting to hear what you have to say, what you think would help, so we can continue to make OwlOps that tool that is helping you achieve the things you're wanting to achieve. So really appreciate your time today.
All right, guys. Well, thanks again. And you'll hear from us in the next day or so with the resources. Have a great rest of the day. Happy Thanksgiving next week. And we'll talk next week, or we'll talk soon.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you.